What is going on, YouTube, and welcome back to the JDW Sports Talk Show, where every fan is welcome. And today we're going to be going through the wide receiver group and giving you my honest thoughts on this group and giving you, no bull crap, all real stuff in this channel, no bull crap, giving it to you right from the heart, no script, no nothing. So let's get right to it. So let's start on the lower end and on the roster bubble. So on the roster bubble for the wide receivers, we have Desmond Patman, we have Mike Strawn, we have Ashton Doolin, Michael Harris, JJ Nellis is on the squad, Gary Jennings, Davis, Tariq Black. The main people we're going to talk about here at this point is Patman, Strawn, Nelson, Harris, and Doolin. So, out of all these guys, who do I think that the Colts will definitely keep? I actually think that the Colts are going to keep Doolin because Doolin is a really, really good special teams player. So, and Chris Ballard and Frank Reich really, rightfully so, really loves having that extra guy for that special teams, which is very important. Um, then you have the Michael Harris who last year wore number 12. Famously, that's kind of why a lot of people more people know him than maybe otherwise. But man, Michael Harris was, a really nice utility weapon last year. He could line up at running back, he could line up at wide receiver, he could line up out wide, slot, wherever he needs to line up. And he came in and made a few plays off of screens, off of sweeps, off of some runs. He came in and made a few big plays. So, I do like the Michael Harris, but does he have a spot in this roster? I'm not sure. And then you go to JJ Nelson. I know JJ Nelson is a veteran. I think they mainly brought him in for, some competition. I really like JJ Nelson. I think he's a cool dude. I think he's a good receiver. I think he's a fun receiver, fast for sure. But is he going to make the roster? I don't think so, but there's definitely a possibility. And then you go on Mike Strawn and Desmond Patman. I really like Mike Strawn. As a lot of Colts fans really, really do like Mike Strawn. Big dude coming out of Charleston who really dominated in Charleston. 19 touchdowns in 2019. In 2020, it was 2019 or 2020, but nonetheless, 19 touchdowns in one season is freaking insane. Um, yeah, it was versus lesser competition, but he dominated. And how is he going to be with the transition? I'm not sure, but I've already seen him working out with Carson Wentz. I've seen him, working out and stuff. So I think I actually think Mike Strawn is making a really good case for himself for making the roster. If he has a strong um training camp, be ready for him to make the roster and maybe make a push for maybe being in the rotation quite a bit. So, and then you go to Desmond Patman. Not too high in Desmond Patman. Don't get me wrong. I like the dude. He's an awesome character. And definitely has talent, that's for sure. Otherwise, he wouldn't even be nowhere near a Colts roster. But he definitely has a lot of talent, man. The thing is, I think he's struggling with the transition. Because if you go to last year, we had a lot of injuries at wide receiver, right? We had TY Hilton, we had Pittman, um, Campbell. No, TY was out for a game. Pittman was out for a few games with that calf thing, with that lower leg injury. Um, and then you had Parris Campbell, who is just struggling to stay on the field, and Desmond Patwin wasn't called up, I don't think. He might have been called up once, but not very long. And for him being healthy, maybe there's something we didn't know about him. Maybe he was having something going on. Maybe he was a little injured himself, banged up. But that would have showed up on the injury report. But nonetheless, I think that I'm not a big fan of Desmond Patwin. I just don't think Frank Reich and this staff is really excited for him. So, I mean, let's move on. So, next we're going to go to kind of the surefire guys who are going to make this roster. You have Zach Pascal, T.Y. Hilton, Michael Pittman, and Parris Campbell. All guys that are surefire guys to make the roster. We can start with the vet, T.Y. Hilton, the man, the myth, the legend. As we all know, T.Y. Hilton is getting up there. He's definitely past his twilight. He's coming to his twilight. He's definitely not, I mean, yeah, he's definitely losing a little bit of a step. A few times he caught a ball last year and he just didn't run as nearly as fast as he used to. But, he's getting older. He's had some injury issues, so it's bound to happen. But he's still an amazing route runner. He has an amazing presence on that field. I absolutely love Ty. I just, it stinks to see that, he's getting older, but it's just part of the NFL. It's part of life, part of the way things work in the NFL, life, etc. You know what I mean? So, toss him diving back though, to help Pittman, to help Campbell along, to help Pascal, to help whoever along. So I really like Ty coming back. I love Ty as we all do. So, and then we're gonna move on to Parris Campbell. Parris Campbell is one of the receivers that, if he's healthy, man, he is a deadly mix of height, speed, route running, explosiveness. He is deadly. You can line up in the slot. You could have him run anything from the slot, anything from wide. You could put him on jet sweeps, maybe throw him back a running back and do some crazy trick plays. You could do so much with Parris Campbell, but the question is, can he stay on the field and can he stay healthy? If he can stay healthy, if he can stay on the field, watch out. Parris Campbell may be a breakout player this year. He may be a really darn good player. That's a big if. He really had some issues staying on the field, and I hope he does because he's a really, really fun player. And it's a really big mismatch for anyone or for a lot of people, because usually taller receivers like him aren't necessarily that fast. They're they're not slow whatsoever, but they're not like 4.3 speed, 4.28 speed, something like that. He's really darn fast. Um, so yeah, really like Campbell. I really like the kid, but he's got to stay healthy. It's kind of hard to talk about too much because there's really like not too much. Yeah. There's that Steelers game when Jacoby was the quarterback for that one year. Um, he was coming right off an injury and he was playing really darn good. He had like over 100 purpose yards, rushing off of sweeps, catching, whatever. And one of the plays, he had a really huge play and he fought through a broken ankle and ran quite a bit. So much respect for that. To play through a broken ankle rather than just fall down and say that's play. He kept fighting. That's huge. That's not many players do that. Not many players can. So I just hope Parris Campbell can stay healthy. And then you have the two other guys, Zach Pascal, Michael Pittman. Um, Zach Pascal is a really solid guy. He always steps up when needed. He's very underappreciated by Colts. Maybe not so much by Colts fans, but by a lot of people. Um, a lot of people say he's a really good depth player, but yeah, he is a really good depth player. But he's also a really darn good starter. He could play in the slot, he could play in the boundary, he can play. He can play wherever you need him to play. He's really stepped up into some big moments in that Steelers game. He caught a big pass. In that Buffalo game, he had a few big catches. He just seems to show up when it matters most, and he's kind of seemingly becoming the next Texans killer. Um, every time we play the Texans, Zach Pascal seems to have a pretty darn good game against the Texans. I don't know if it's just me thinking that, but I mean, he's had some pretty good games versus the Texans the past few years. So yeah, very very reliable. Always steps up when needed. Always steps up to the occasion. Then you have, last but not least, Michael Pittman Jr., the USC product. Um, this kid was fun to watch last year. It wasn't easy for anyone coming in the NFL, but then Pittman had the injury to his lower leg, his calf, or whatever it was. Week 3 versus the Jets, he really showed versus the Jets. He really started to catch some flame, but fortunately that injury did set him back a few weeks. But when he came back versus the Tennessee Titans, he came out firing. He came out on fire, having an awesome game on a primetime game, coming right off an injury. And one thing I want to ask you guys: Michael Pittman's 3 biggest games. I'm gonna say this so much because people don't realize this. People haven't brought this up much. Um, Michael Pittman's 3 biggest games last year were Tennessee Titans on Thursday Night Football, the Green Bay Packers on national television, and then the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs, which is on national television as well. All 3 games shows that the brighter the light, the brighter Michael Pittman becomes, and he's not scared of that night. He's not scared of that light. He's not scared of the spotlight. He's gonna step up and make a huge play, just like the rest of his team will. And I really like Pittman. He's shown some really, really good abilities last year. He's kind of really good with those sweeps, I guess you could say. He comes around to those sweeps in that bunch set. I really like that. He's really good with crossers. He beat Tre'Davious White a few times in that Buffalo game, which I think shows you something. In one of the biggest games versus one of the best corners, he did pretty darn good. So let me know your guys' thoughts on this wide receiver room. Who do you think is going to make it? Who do you think is not going to make it? Who do you think is going to be the best receiver? Okay. Who do you guys think is going to have the most receiving yards? Who do you think is going to have the most receptions? Who do you think is going to have the most touchdowns? Let me know what you guys think. So, as always, if you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And as always, I'll catch you guys in the next video.